Hello, welcome. My name is Connor Walsh. I'm the International Engagement Officer at WWT, and I work on Wetland Link International. We often call it WLI for short. So when you hear me say WLI, it means WLI that you see on screen. I'm going to share my screen and show you about our small grants scheme. I'll introduce the basics, what you need to be aware of. So the small grant scheme, the first clicking is not working. Try again. There we are. So the small grant scheme 2025-2026. It is for CEPA, so work relation to communications, education, participation, or awareness. We'll call that CEPA. People are using the chat already. Shailandra, nice to have you here joining us from Nepal. Thank you. Great to have you here, Mr. Shailandra. The grant is for up to £4,000, so a minimum of £2,000 sterling up to a maximum of £4,000. I put the other approximate values on the screen. It's in sterling, it's awarded in UK pounds, but it's available to anyone, anywhere, and it's kindly supported by an international law firm called Evershed Sutherland. The application process is a Microsoft Word application form that you fill in and email back to us. There isn't a special platform, it's all email. So let me get out of the way of this. Let me make sure I'm getting out of the way of that for you to see the timeline, the timescale, really important. The first thing is the deadline. So by the 8th of September, we will need to have applications in by email. We won't consider applications that are late. We will then assess them over the following weeks, and we will hope to let the winners know by the 3rd of November, by early November, which ones we've chosen to receive a grant. Then we will work hard both ways with paperwork. There'll be for the successful applicants, it's quite complicated to get the paperwork right, to make it go, the payment go as smoothly as possible. So November will be quite busy with that, but we will do everything we can to get the money to you in time for the project to be started sometime by December. So the funded part of your project has to be completed between December and the end of March next year. It doesn't mean your whole overall program of work has to be completed, not at all. And it doesn't mean that you have to take the full 4 months. It could be just on World Wetlands Day, so long as it's what we are giving you money for is completed somewhere between December this year and the end of March next year. And then we've a reporting deadline, which is a really important thing because we then send those reports on to our funder. So if you would like to, if you're successful, we'll also send you a standard reporting form. It's really important. So what that timeline looks like in terms of paperwork is these 3 clumps here. So the first 3 go together, that's the application process. Then you have the next 2 bits are only for people who make it through to the next round, or who are granted awards rather, small grants. They get the agreement form, which is the November paperwork back and forth. And then there's the reporting form afterwards. So those first 3, project summary, project proposal, and official letter, that's the order they fall in your application form. Realistically, though, you'll actually do the second one first, right? You would do the proposal first because that's more in detail. Go back then and do your project summary, which is sort of condensing all of that and slightly putting a slightly different perspective on it. You'll see this slightly different language in the summary. So read the summary, but start with the proposal. The official letter then, that is something from someone more senior in your organization, or if you're the boss, then it's a partner who you would work with, or someone from the location you're working with. It's to say that, yeah, we know this proposal is going ahead, right? And we support it. It's as simple as that. Often that will come to you in the form of a PDF. Don't worry about trying to squeeze a PDF into a Word document. Just you can send that as a separate attachment to the email. So you can have your Word document application form and let's say a PDF of the official letter. So the essentials then, that web address, that's where you'll be able to download the guidelines, the application form, and see some previous winners. wli.wwt.org.uk/small-grant. You'll find it linked in the Zoom email that you got about registering for this as well. Read the guidelines. It really helps. And keep it real. So the example that comes to mind here is we had a really good example of keeping it real, which was someone said they wanted to start a new wetland visitor centre. But they weren't going to do that in 3 months for £3,000. They were going to do some of the research, do some of the background work, do some of the community engagement, have a few sessions like that, buy some equipment. So if you say, oh, we're going to start the Wetland Visitor Centre in 3 months for £3,000, that's not real. But if you say we're going to do some of the work towards it, that's real. And get to the point. So don't put in things like, oh, wetlands are really important. Here's all the good things wetlands do in general. And here are some statistics about the loss of wetlands globally. We know that, and we just want to get to spend our time learning about your proposal. So get to the point. Be ready to monitor and evaluate is the next point. And that's really important for the reporting process. So consider how to put that into your application. In those guidelines, you will find a list of eligible and ineligible costs. And you can also have a look at the previous winners on the WLI website to get an idea of what is makes for good applications. So just very briefly, travel, equipment, contractors, meeting costs, producing output materials, and a low contingency fund. Those are all absolutely acceptable, and those are things that people have done before. Here's probably the most useful part of this webinar, and it's actually information that is in the guidelines as well. It's the judging criteria. So all of these bullet points, they are equally weighted in the judging process. First one, how the proposal matches the timeline. If you have a brilliant proposal, but it's for August next year, that's losing marks easily, right? So an easy way to gain marks is to stay within the timeline, and how realistic it appears to be sort of relates to that as well. The applicant's familiarity to WLI. Now, this can seem a bit unfair if you've just signed up to Wetland Link International in order to apply for the grant, but it's a security thing for us that we know you, we know you're not strangers. So if you've only just signed up now, you can apply and you can keep getting to know us. Let's stay in touch, submit to our, submit stories for our newsletter, for our website, interact with us more. So we build up this familiarity, and that is good for everyone, really. It strengthens our network. Next bullet point, how your proposal relates to CEPA. How relevant is it, right? Really easy. Keep it on communications, education, participation, or awareness. So, if it's habitat management, species monitoring by itself, no. But if it's community involvement in habitat monitoring, or if habitat management, or if it's producing materials as guidebooks to help with habitat monitoring, CEPA, great. Next point, how repeatable the proposal is by other WLI members. So we want other WLI members to be able to look at this and think, oh, that was a good idea. That's really simple. We should do that. That sort of thing. And also how sustainable it is for you if you get the award. So for example, if you want to buy binoculars, tell us something about what happens if the binoculars break, because binoculars break, right? So for example, right, something that's how it can be sustained. It's not, there could be other funds available. There could be, you have some volunteers signed up, something that means that you can continue the benefits of this. If you're producing output materials, do you have a place to store them? Do you have a place to make them available? Things like that. And the final bullet point is, it's the X factor. It's something that's quite hard to define in advance. It's how much we love the proposal. What about this proposal really speaks to us? It's like, oh, that's a great idea. Something like that. So, some of these points, they all complement each other, but then some of them are a balance, right? So how realistic it appears to be versus how amazing it's going to be. They're all good balances and trade-offs. And just to reiterate, these are all equally weighted. So they're all scored in the same way. And then that adds up to an overall score. And then the highest scoring proposals get selected. These are some really good tips. These are tips that have just come up in the process of previous 2 rounds of the small grants that have sometimes been challenging for people. we can only give funds to an institutional bank account, a business or a charity or some sort of organization's bank account. We can't give money to a personal bank account. So that might seem harsh, right? If you're an individual doing a lot of volunteering for conservation, for wetland CEPA, then partner with another organization, partner with a local charity or the visitor center or something like that, which can take the funds on your behalf into their formal bank account. And make sure where you are can receive foreign funds, because there are legislations and regulations in some places that make it really difficult for people to be able to pick up and be sent funding from, for example, a UK charity, which is what this would be. And but there's a lot of reporting in this one, right? We talk about reporting a lot. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. Shareable reports. So that's not just budget reports for our funder. This is inspirational reporting for other members of the network. So just think about how you'll document it. Will you take photographs? Will you develop things that we can put on the WLI website and other people can see, other WLI members, your counterparts can see these and say, oh, great, yeah, I can use that information. And then the whole other side of the screen. This is something that has tortured me over doing the previous rounds, which is that because I'm sending out emails about, oh, we're giving you money, often that gets blocked as a spam filter. The spam filter or the junk mail says, oh, no, it's not real. There's just someone claiming to give you loads of money. It's not loads of money. It's a small grant, but you know the point. So please, excuse me, please make sure that your email is set up to not block any emails coming from @wwt.org.uk. It won't just come from WLI.org @wwt.org.uk. It could come from my WWT email address, and it could come from a new colleague's email address. We're having a new person joining the team in the next few months who's going to be working just on the small grant scheme. Sorry, who's been going dedicated time on the small grant scheme. So it make sure it's any WWT email address can get through your spam filter. So we're nearly there. I'm just going to give you a reminder of the timeline. The 8th of September, right? If you're still thinking your proposal is a good idea to go ahead with this, and you read the guidelines, you think, okay, we can put together a proposal, it needs to get into us by email by the 8th of September. Then by the 3rd of November, we'll do our best to have notified people. We'll start by notifying the successful applicants. So if it's after the 3rd of November and you haven't heard from us, probably when you do hear from me, unfortunately, it will be an apology saying sorry. So that's a very difficult email to write, because how do I write the subject line that you don't open and think, oh, I got it, and then, oh, no, I didn't. So if it's later in November, just be, understanding that unfortunately it won't have worked out this time, but we can give feedback. If you do get the early email, November is going to be back and forth. We'll send you a draft. We'll send you a grant agreement, which will include all your bank details and things like that, and your registration documents as an organization. So you'll need to send all those into us, or your partner organization if you're partnering with this organization for that purpose. Then it's over to you. Deliver, do, inspire kids, inspire local people, do some good CEPA. And then the reporting deadline. So, sorry, the project has to be done by the 31st of March, and then the reporting deadline is a month later, and then we report to our funder. Yes, Adu, let me unmute you. Hello, Adu.
Hello, my name is Edu. I work with Green Innovation for People and Nature, and we are operating in Ghana at the Monepomade Ramsar site in Ghana. So over the years, we've worked on having wetlands conference and a Real World Wetlands Day. But this time I want to find out if the funding can also include activities for data collection on wetlands.
It can include data collection so long as there is a CEPA element to it. So if you're involving members of the public, or if you're creating materials, so not purely scientific data collection, it would have to be CEPA related.
Okay, that is specifically, let's say, knowledge sharing from indigenes that are reliant on wetlands resources?
Indigenous data would definitely be relevant. So if there
Okay.
are sessions of engagement between Indigenous people who have Indigenous knowledge and researchers, then that will be, yeah, that would count as CEPA for sure. Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good luck with your applications. You can email me with any questions you have as well, of course.